Okay, welcome everyone to Committee of the Whole. In accordance with the Governor and Utah Department of Health phased guidelines for general public, Utah Leads Together, and the Utah Legislators House Joint Resolution 504, adopted on June 17, 2020, extending the state of emergency due to the infectious disease COVID-19, novel coronavirus. I have determined that to protect the health and welfare of Murray citizens, an in-person council meeting, including attendance by the public and the city council, is not practical or prudent. The Center of Disease Control states that COVID-19 is easily spread from person to person between people who are in close contact with one another. The spread is through respiratory droplets when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, and may be spread by people who are non-symptomatic. Considering the continued rise of COVID-19 case counts in Utah, meeting in an anchor location presents substantial risk to the health and safety of those in attendance because of physical distancing measures may be difficult to maintain in the Murray City Council chambers. It is my intent to safeguard the lives of Murray residents, business owners, employees, and elected officials by meeting remotely through electronic means. The public may view the meeting via the live stream at www.murraycitylive.com or on our Facebook page at Murray City, Utah. No physical meeting location will be available at this time. If you would like to submit comments for citizen comments at the time of our public hearing, you may do so by sending an email in advance during the meeting to city.council@murray.utah.gov. Again, that's city.council@murray.utah.gov. Comments are limited to less than 3 minutes. Include your name and contact information, and they will be read into the record. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I am going to go ahead and move into this meeting. It's a pretty long meeting. We are going to start with discussions and for reports of interlocal boards and commissions. And I welcome Mayor Kemp to start us off to go over Utah Telecommunications Open Infrastructure Agency, Utopia. Go ahead, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to give you a fairly brief Utopia update, and then I'll have Brenda roll into the UIA because they really go together. But at the last board meeting in June, the board approved the Utopia budget for the upcoming year. It includes an increase in revenue of about 11%, but mainly that was in the form of increased payments from UIA because if you remember that it's Utopia that provides the network operations center for UIA, as well as all the administration and technical staff and legal support and so forth. And UIA is doing very well. The 2021 UIA service contract is about $3.2 million, which was almost $1 million more than 2020, and that was because of increased costs for running the system. And part of that was some new positions that were added. There were 11 positions requested. However, there were 5 that were included and approved in the budget, 2 in operations management, 1 in warehouse inventory, 1 in field services, and 1 in network engineering. There was also a request for a 3% across-the-board increase for employee compensation, but the board voted to postpone that increase because of all of the cities were unable to give increases, and those are postponed until January at the soonest, when the board can revisit revenues and so forth, and they're going to be doing a further analysis of salary comparables. I will note that Utopia and UIA have not had a decrease in revenues during this pandemic. In fact, they've done very well as people have wanted to have the fiber while they've been home. I'm also happy to provide you with a copy of the approved budget when the Minutes are approved at the August meeting. I'll forward you a copy of the budget. You can look at it if you would like. Utopia has also accelerated the repayment of the so-called OPEX to the cities that paid it. We did pay a partial. They owe us back, they owe Murray back $154,317 that we paid in OPEX several years ago, and that's proposed to be paid off $77,159 in 2021, and then the other 77 plus thousand in 2022. So that'll be paid off. Just for your information, there are currently 11 residential ISPs or internet providers on the network, and approximately 25 commercial providers. The Utopia staff that reports that the ISPs have done, and I quote them, pretty well, keeping up with the high demand, and there hasn't been too many customer issues. If you recall the report that Utopia made to the council a few months ago, they mentioned the Project Purple Air that was discussed. That's the air monitoring system, which, by the way, is up a little bit today because all the smoke in the air. But that Purple Air is now deployed in all of the Utopia cities. In addition, Utopia has been involved in a project that began as a BYU capstone project, referred to as EDWIN, which stands for Early Detection Wildfire Imaging Network. And it monitors high-risk wildfire areas using thermal imaging cameras connected over fiber. And EDWIN is still in the developmental stage, but the cities of Layton and Woodland Hills are beta test sites, and I believe Orem's going to also jump on that. And what it does is it scans the foothills and detects by thermal imaging if there's a temperature greater than 300 degrees, and then gives early notification to fire agencies. So that's actually pretty exciting stuff. And with that, I'm going to have Brenda talk about UIA, and then if you have any questions about Utopia or UIA after she's done, we'll be happy to field those. So, Brenda.
So in the same, well, not the same meeting, but the same day that Utopia approved their budget, UIA approved, we approved the budget for UIA. They are anticipating a 25% increase in service fees coming into the system. And their expenses, the majority of which goes to Utopia as a management fee or as their service contract. Utopia gets a certain dollar amount per connection, and then they have all of the employees. So UIA has no employees. They are making all of the UIA debt payments, and they are turning back an extra, or they're lowering their reserves by $5 million to do build out and various other items without increasing or putting out another bond. The interesting thing is in June, they reported that Murray had 74 new connections that were available, residential. They are in the process of building out 3 areas in Murray for a total of 1,034 new subscribers. Some of those are on the what they call MU013, which are 692, which is north of I-215 on the very west edge of the city. I think the mayor said he's over in that area, and Kat, you may be over in that area?
They are outside my front window here as we speak, so a little loud, but it's great.
They're also doing some that are over just west of Cottonwood High School. I know a couple of the street names over there. One's Woodstock, over where that lake is, that kind of little area in there. It's kind of a funky shape where they're going to be working, but they're doing it there. And then just off of 59th and I-215 west of State Street, there's a little chunk. They're going to pull in 86 addresses over there. So according to their build out schedule, those will be done by Christmas. So we'll have a few more subscribers eligible in Murray. And then they're going to do the rest in stages. The latest date said 2024, but I'm guessing with their new revenues, they might get to it faster.
Brenda, can I ask a question?
Sure.
What does that put us as a percentage, or maybe you don't know, percentage build out with what you just said, not for the others, but what you just said?
I do not know what percentage, but if you look at their map on their website, it's turning green.
Cool.
There's more green, especially after they do these, than there will be gray. So, which
Great.
means
Thank you.
they'll have sites available. They have hit the 30,000 subscriber mark, and they were, for a few months when we first started the quarantine and stuff, they were having like a 50% increase in the number of monthly signups that they were getting.
Brenda, is that in total or is that just in Murray?
30,000 is in total.
That's what I thought. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, they're probably at 31,000 now. It's been a month since they put out that number, so and I think that's about it for Utopia and UIA. They are succeeding because the are increasing, and everybody wants their internet and they want it fast, and fiber is the fastest out there, and their price is very reasonable. So I like it. So that's it. That's all I got.
Any questions? No? All right. Thank you, Brenda. We appreciate you. Thank you, Mayor. All right. I have the next topic of Association of Municipal Councils. So let me give you my update on that. In January, we went over the homeless count, the homeless point and count. And with that, Kat and I actually went into the field here in Murray and walked at 4 a.m. and that was pretty exciting. That was, if you guys don't have an opportunity, or if you have an opportunity to do that in the future, you should. It's pretty interesting. The information that the director of HUD came in and presented was pretty fascinating on how many homeless people we have in terms of the city and what they look for and how that's determined was pretty fascinating. And also going to the center itself and getting training was I mean, it was an experience in itself. We also, so each meeting they have a different topic. The second topic in January was refugees in Utah, and going over of the, let's see, their Refugee Service Office of the Department of Workforce Services handle education and integration coordinated services to provide support for up to 2 years in areas such as English, literacy, job training, and housing. We have approximately 6,500 refugees call Utah home, with the largest communities recently resettled from Somalia, Sudan, South Sudan, Congo, and Iraq. We also were given a presentation and we wanted more information about the refugee center that is right outside of our Murray boundaries in South Salt Lake, and we also, I think I was more curious on how many we had in Murray since it's right at our boundaries, but again, the refugee center is right outside of our boundaries between South Salt Lake and Murray. In February, we had a presentation over Robert Rules of Order. We heard all the details on the basics of main motions, amending a motion, voting order on multiple motions, and tips for presiding officers, which was pretty exciting. Let's see. We went over moderate income housing, SB 34, which was passed in 2019 and requires municipalities and counties to address affordable housing, land use, and transportation collectively. Cities are required to have a moderate income housing plan and housing availability for occupancy by households with less than 80% of the area median income. There's a list of 23 strategies, and each city must use 3 of these strategies. Home prices and rents are increasing in Salt Lake County. In 2019, there were over 24,000 new homes and over 28,000 new housing units in Salt Lake County. Recent reports indicated that this could be reversing with the new construction down during the crisis of this year. In March, we discussed, discussion was related to water issues and who we were bringing on for guest speakers, and was also included a professor from the University of Utah and scientists from Western Water Assessment. We were out of town for the second meeting because we were in DC, and then there was no meeting in April, May, and they came back in June to review SB 52, which related to secondary water metering. Senator Jake Anderg presented, and he stressed that this was required for only new construction after April 1st of 2020. Existing metering did not require retrofitting. The cost of new construction was expected to be around $230 per meter. Let's see. In July, they went back and went over SB 34. But then in July, Jenny Wilson kind of gave a brief update of COVID-19 and where we're at in terms of numbers, and that masks are actually working in Salt Lake County compared to the other parts of the state. So that was her update. Let's see. Now, moving forward, any questions about any of that?
I just want to make a statement that I thought it was cool because I'd heard the same thing that a few weeks ago, that the housing market here had gone up, and gone up, and California had gone down. And I thought, I wonder where those Californians are moving to.
It's a good old Utah. All right, perfect. Now ULCT Legislative Policy Committee, committee. ULCT has been very active in a lot of the COVID information and what's going on. Let's see, here's my brief update on all of this. In June, there was a special sessions and bills were passed. So HB 5002, Open and Public Meetings Act Amendment. HB 5007, Peace Officers Amendment. SB 5006, Public Safety Worker Protection Amendments. And SB 5004, Municipal Annexation Amendments. And HJR 504, extending the state of emergency due to the COVID-19 to August 20th, 2020. There was prioritization of interim issues. So Tier 1 of CARES Act funding, water conservation, public infrastructure, HB 347, local government building regulation. This bill applies to a construction applicant whose building and inspection has taken longer than the required time frame. The applicant may opt out of the inspection, applies only to non-residential projects. ULCT has been opposed to the bill, and the substitute allowed for a study during interim with a report back to October, or back by October, I should say. We also went over community trust and public safety. There's also Tier 2 and Tier 3 issues. And one of the issues for Tier 3 is one for SCR6, Concurrent Resolution for Study of Local Options Sales Tax Act. This resolution requests that the Utah Association of Counties and the ULCT provide the legislator with information regarding the impact of e-commerce and the point of sale associated with the various local option sales and use sales tax rates and possible change to the distribution formulas. Requests that the UAC and ULCT work with transit districts to research and make recommendations regarding the impact of changing point of sale due to the nature of internet sales and changes in the traditional delivery location. The sponsor is Senator Bramble. He is not advocating for any changes, but wants local governments to understand how the changing economy impacts sales tax revenues. Anticipated working groups are public infrastructure districts, public safety, water conservation, gravel pits, metro townships, transportation utilities fees, land use task force, and annexation. Our next meeting is for August 17th, 2020. Any questions on that? All right. Okay. Sorry for rushing this forward, but we are packed today. We're going to move forward to Wasatch Front Waste with Diane Turner. Go ahead, Diane.
Thank you. Okay, Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District. It's also called Wolford. And Wolford services residents above 9th East in Murray. So we'll just do the highlights quickly of the 6, I guess it's 5 or 6 that of the meetings that I've attended. The preliminary 2019 fourth quarter year-end financial results were reviewed. The revenues are up by $209,000 due to growth in the southwest part of the county. Personnel expenses were up by $137,000 with 84 full-time employees, and overtime and benefits accounted for the increase in costs. Other post-employment benefits decreased. Shared premium for 21 retirees. This benefit has been discontinued for current employees not retired and new hires. Operational expenses increased $632,000 in 2019. Most significant increase related to recycling disposal fees. The current cost is $63 to $64 per ton of recycling. Contamination of the recycling stream is a problem. However, the price is dependent on the commodities market and pricing of individual commodities. Pam, our executive director, has said the biggest contaminants are plastic bags, food, and water. There was discussion on how often recycling should be collected. Pam noted that the recent survey showed 70% put out their recycling bin weekly and are willing to pay continued weekly service. Okay, fuel expense. So that's 70%. So most of our citizens as well. Fuel expense decreased by $64,000 due to the price per gallon and efficiencies in reorganizing logistics. Side load trucks get 2 miles a gallon. Maintenance is up due to aging trailers and area cleanup containers. So Wolford's cash and investment balance is $10.5 million. The capital expenses, we just ordered 8 side load trucks at a cost of $313,000 each for a 2020 delivery. In 2019, Wolford sold 4 trucks at auction for $85,000 each. Past due balances are placed on the resident's tax bill, and approximately $2 million have been collected in the past few months. The last fee increase was in 2018, and the next recommended increase is 2021. Recycling. These discussions on recycling took place every month, and Pam reported that survey results indicated 80% of residents support recycling. Approximately $200,000 is spent in outreach and education efforts for recycling. About 400 cans are sample sorted each month to determine the amount of contamination in the truck's recycle load. Contamination is decreasing. Pam was asked if the district had taken a position on legislation for plastic bags, which is the #1 contaminant. She said that the board could issue a resolution stating official policy if so desired. Holiday, Murray, and Sandy board members all indicated their support. Another board member said more education was encouraged at this point and a vote was approved to proceed with recycle can flyer imprinting that will add $2 to $3 per cost of each can. In March, Pam reported a decline in recycling tonnages, which she attributes to less contamination and successful educational efforts. So that was a really good thing. When the inspectors identify contamination in cans, they are tagged and not picked up. Residents receive a notice to remove the contamination. So they work really hard at making sure that recycling is done as efficiently as possible. We also discussed homes on private lanes and roads. Pam indicated that they were not allowed to service private lanes unless an interlocal agreement was in place. Legal jurisdiction is for residential units up to a 4-plex on public roads. This is based on restrictions created by resolution in 1977. Any changes would be up to Salt Lake County to revise. Pam's been working on HOAs and the homeowners to inform them they must contract with private haulers. After several months of discussion, an amendment to private road policy was discussed and approved by the board in June. Area cleanup containers. Due to staffing issues, the container program for 2020 will be revised as follows. Cities are scheduled from mid-May through October 8th on a first-come, first-served basis. Residents can schedule a container to be placed in their driveway and shared with neighbors. This is a 24-hour reservation during the scheduled time of the area. Drivers will still deliver up to 80 containers for a designated area, however. This is reduced from the usual 120 containers for any area. And again, this is above 9th East, where Wolfwood serves. There was some monthly billing issue as cash flows is sometimes an issue with quarterly billing. There was discussion on the possibility of going to monthly billing. Current expenses with printing, postage, processing fees, and staff labor, the annual billing costs are about $513,000 for quarterly billing. Going to monthly billing would increase the annual expense to $1.1 million. The board members, we did not think the additional cost would be worth the benefits. So we're watching the money carefully. And that's the end of my highlights of Wolford. Now, are there any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Dale, you're up next. Give us a review on the Chamber of Commerce. Go ahead.
I'm all right. The Chamber of Commerce is, we're having a lot of problems financially. We've lost a lot of members. We've furloughed our executive director, and we are currently revamping. The board has taken over the the duties of the director. We're working to recruit new members. We're putting together a new business plan, responsibilities for committees, revamping committees. And that's a short, but that's what's going on with the chamber. COVID has taken its toll, I think, on businesses, but the chamber has to also prove value to the businesses to be able to recruit and maintain the businesses that we have and recruit new ones. So the board is working hard on that. Hopefully we'll get it turned around in the next month or two. There have been some successes on businesses re-upping and getting a few new ones. So hopefully the next time I give a report, it'll be much better.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Kat, if you want to give us an update on the Economic Task Force. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. It's a short report. It's a new task force created in response to COVID-19. We started out with outreach to businesses, both chamber members and beyond, just in our networks, to see what their needs were. One thing that has come out of it so far is an online sort of library of resources where we're trying to keep grants updated, loans updated as things come out with the CARES Act and are available, to make that sort of an easy touch point for businesses to use. We did create, when we first, maybe a month and a half ago, a video with some business members, sort of a Murray's Open for Business, use good practices, be safe. And then immediately, right as we finished that, all of the numbers spiked in cases. And we said, well, we'll sit on that for a minute. But the mayor was a star in it. He looked great. And so we're holding on to that until the numbers start stabilizing a little bit, but trying to be a resource of good practices. And one thing we are doing right now is we have posters similar to the Salt Lake County Mask Up Utah, that campaign that we have available for businesses. And we are having businesses reach out to the task force, to the chamber, if they're interested. And we're also doing a bit of canvassing in different neighborhoods of just bringing these and saying, are you interested in having one up that says, yes, you have to wear masks in here, and reinforcing the mandate from the county, and just good business practices that businesses want their customers to feel safe and know that they are doing everything they can to protect their customers who they care about a great deal. So that's what we've been up to at the Economic Task Force.
Thank you so much, Kat. Go ahead, Diane.
Kat, I'm wondering who is on the task force? Is that the Chamber of Commerce, or?
It is partnered with the Chamber of Commerce. We have Marie and Stephanie attend, as well as Joe Silverzig, and so he's chairing it. And then we have a council member for Midvale, Bryant, and we had a couple other people initially, but we've had some guests from other Chamber of Commerces, which has been really great to give information, but that's the core membership.
Great, thank you.
All right, you guys okay moving forward? All right, let's go on to Transjordan Cities with Russ Kakala. Is Russ on? I don't see Russ.
No, unfortunately, Russ is unable to be there, so you're looking at the replacement.
Oh, that's right. I did. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, just some real quick updates for the Transjordan landfill. So they completed the purchase of a 50-acre parcel from the Daybreak lands that's contiguous to the landfill, and that will be for a future transfer station. And that closed in December. So, but there was a lot of things that took place to get it there, and they finally secured that property. So that's going forward. we're looking at about a 10-year lifespan of the landfill, and after that, we need to plan. So we're planning further out to make sure that we can get rid of the garbage in our as part of the Transjordan cities. So, but we also entered into an agreement Transjordan did with with Sandy City and with Sandy Suburban Improvement District for some land off of 90th South and about 7th West for an additional transfer station at that location. And that will offer 2 different locations for the member cities for future. And again, into the future, we're going to be hauling garbage to Bayview, which is down in Utah County, well past or a little bit past the lake on the west side. So know that that's coming. But because of that, though, transportation costs are going to be higher, and so building these transfer stations and moving the garbage further, it will cost more money to our city residents. So you know, we have a plan going forward for those fee increases to keep us funded to meet those needs in the future. So if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you. Otherwise, I'm done.
When are we looking at those fee increases? Is that for next year?
Yeah, so I think we placed it's like a 5-year plan, and so it'll be once a year for the next. We just had our first one last year, so it'll be 4 more years.
All right, perfect. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Danny, for your time.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and move forward to Kim with the Murray City Library. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to share my screen to give you a little presentation here. So let's see. Oh, only the host can share. I guess I'm not going to be able to. All right.
Jan can give you that.
She can share.
Can I share now?
Yes.
Oh, yes, now I can. Thank you. All right, let me get to the right place here. All right. Can everyone see me? See this?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going on at the library as far as our service plan goes, and talk to you a little bit about what service we're able to give and what we're not, given our current situation. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about who we strive to be. And so this is our vision. Our vision statement is to open new worlds, which we attempt to do in a variety of ways with all of the access that we give to folks here at the library. Our mission is to be your friendly hometown library, and we strive to be friendly and welcoming to everyone that comes to us. Let's see here. That's not good. All right. Going on. All right, here we go. And then our values are we are helpful, welcoming, inclusive, engaging, and innovative. So that's just kind of the framework that we work from to try to give service to those that come to our library. And so we have patron personas that we keep in mind as we try to give service. And I just wanted to kind of give you some of these personas and what we are currently doing for them. These are the folks that we are actually able to give the kind of service that they need, not necessarily as we have done it in the past and not maybe in an ideal way, but these are things that we are able to do. And so Penelope is a mother of young children who needs early literacy programming. And so we are offering a daily Facebook story time. We are checking out early literacy materials, and we are also offering our summer learning challenge to this age group for these young children, and trying to help them prepare for school and to have those early literacy skills. So this is how we're helping with this particular service need. We also have Melanie, who is a mother of school-aged children who needs material for children, including homework assignments. And so we do have our whole pickup service for people to pick things up. We have many e-resources, and then we also have our summer learning challenge that we're using for this group as well. We are able to help Bethany, who is a lifelong reader who needs reading, listening, and watching material. So we have our hold pickup service, we have our ebooks, we also have an adult summer learning challenge for this group, and then we are also offering our virtual book club. So we're using Zoom to have book clubs and are having some pretty good success with that. I think we had a book club on Thursday that had 8 people attend, which is really good for an online, not in-person type of book club. So we were happy with that. And then we have Colin, who is a computer user who needs internet access, printing, and scanning. And we are offering reservation-only computer use currently so that people can come in with an appointment and use all of these things. They can print, they can scan, and have internet access that they may not have access to at home. So these are all the people that we can help. Unfortunately, there are some other patron personas that we can't currently help and probably won't be able to do much for a while. So some of these folks are Sophia, who is a student that needs a quiet place to study. We do not have any access for studying at this point. Mainly, long periods of time in a public place are not considered safe. So people that want to come to the library and sit for 3 hours to study, it's not a safe environment. And so that is not something that we're able to provide right now. Hamilton is a junior high student that wants to hang out while waiting for a ride home. Our junior high students will not have access to the library just because of the limited number of users that we have to have in the library for distancing. And so we can't accommodate having 200 teenagers walking into the library after school every day. So that's another group that we are not going to be able to give service to. And then Raymond is a businessman who uses our meeting rooms. And again, we will not have access to our meeting rooms. All of our meeting rooms are currently being used as staff offices to maintain workplace distancing. So the library in the past has had several open office areas that people work in, and we were not able to have a 6-foot distance between people. And so we had to move everybody out of those spaces and put them into all of our meeting rooms in order to have the distancing that is necessary to be safe. So a little quote here from Theodore Roosevelt: do what you can with what you have where you are. And so that's what we're attempting to do. Any questions about any of that?
Anyone? No. Looks like we have no questions. Thank you so much, Kim, for that presentation.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay.
All right, moving on to Kim Sorensen to give us an overview of Jordan River Commission. Kim?
Okay, thank you, Council and Mayor. Good evening. So the Jordan River Commission, you received about a week ago in the Mayor's weekly report a link to a survey up to asking you for feedback on an update on the Blueprint Jordan River. And maybe some of you have done that. If you've not done it, I sent it to Jan earlier today, and she'll send it out to you if you missed that. And I encourage you not only to complete the survey, but also to share the survey with neighbors, Murray residents, your constituents, and other people, so that we can get their feedback on going forward. And a little bit about the Blueprint Jordan River. Back in 2008, the Blueprint Jordan River was completed by Salt Lake County. And at that time, there were a lot of groups with interest with the Jordan River going in different directions. We had groups that wanted to keep the river native. We had groups we had those that wanted to keep it native and leave it alone, all the way to those who wanted to put businesses along the Jordan River. And so from the Blueprint Jordan River, the Jordan River Commission was formed, and it was formed to facilitate regional implementation of the Blueprint Jordan River. So that's how the Jordan River Commission came about in 2010, 2 years after Blueprint Jordan River was completed. So, and for those of you that are new, I'll just go over real quick of the purpose of the Jordan River Commission. It's one, to encourage and promote multiple uses of the river and the river corridor, to foster communication and coordination, to promote resource utilization and protection, maintain and develop recreation areas, monitor and promote reasonable economic development, identify and secure funding for the acquisition of critical habitat and open space, and engage in ongoing planning for the identified Jordan River Blueprint study area. So to simplify Blueprint Jordan River, back in 2008, it was where do we go? And I think in 2020, as you look at the survey, you're going to get more of a feel of how do we do it. So there are a lot of things with the Jordan River Commission that you may think don't impact Murray City, because we are well ahead of most cities with our development of the Jordan River and the way that we maintain the Jordan River. But really, we have seen over the years with the other cities catching on that things have gotten better in Murray as well. For example, last year there was a puncture vine bounty program. Some of the council people from last year may remember that. And if you don't know what a puncture vine is, it's basically the little plant that grows goat heads on the river. And these are a pain. So this year, the Jordan River Commission, again, has the bounty program. It basically pays $2 a pound to nonprofit groups, community groups, religious groups to go out and find puncture vine and then bring it in and get paid $2 a pound for it. You may think that doesn't help Murray because we don't have a lot of puncture vine. And certainly nobody's going to make money going on the Jordan River Parkway in Murray at $2 a pound. However, if you go south or you go north of Murray, there are fields and fields and fields of puncture vines. So we are seeing, even just from last year, improvement on our section because those little puncture thorns get stuck in your tire, stuck in your shoe, and they end up in Murray, and we're constantly removing small puncture weeds. So it's helping us. The last thing that I'll mention is in September, the Jordan River Commission sponsors a Get to the River month or celebration. Murray has participated in this the last 3 years. What we've done is we've had a volunteer project to plant trees, remove invasive weeds and plants. This year, we were hoping to do something different. Other areas of the Jordan River have also done what we've done, but they've had different events like canoeing the river or dinner on the river or 5K races or different activities. We are hoping and wanted to do something like that. Of course, COVID has hit and changes a lot of things, but we still plan on doing some type of an activity in September with the Get to the River celebration. We have some ideas that we'll work with Mayor Kemp and his people to determine whether we can do that or not. So look forward to seeing more information on that. But that is my quick report on the Jordan River Commission, unless there's some questions.
I have a question, and that's, do you have to be part of a nonprofit, or could I send some delinquent children of mine with bags of goat head weeds to you? Would that be? You
don't send them to me, but get on the Jordan River Commission site, and it'll explain it to you. But here's what they say. This includes businesses, nonprofits, community and religious organizations, social clubs, school groups, or group raising funds. So I think the answer is yes. Anybody that wants to pick up goat heads for $2 a pound, and you'll still select an area, and they have a lot of areas where the weeds are very invasive. But that would be great. And
thank you.
Too.
Question, Kim. How far, what city to city does the Jordan River go to?
Well, the Jordan River starts at Utah Lake and then flows all the way down and ends up in Salt Lake, Great Salt Lake. The trail is about 51 miles long.
I honestly had no idea till one of our kids just moved to Lehigh and they're right on the Jordan River. And I said, wait a minute, is that our Jordan River? I was surprised that I didn't realize it went clear to Lehigh. So thank you.
And that's a good point. And that's the reason for the Get to the River is there are a lot of people that still have the mindset that the Jordan River is a bad place, but it really isn't.
Oh, anybody else? All right. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for that update. It's exciting.
Thank you.
I'm going to send my kids with Kat's kids to go get some arrowhead weeds. All right. Okay. So moving forward, an update from Neighborworks. Melinda, I'll let you go ahead.
Thank you. So I have been on the Neighborworks board now. I think my first official meeting with them was February. So I'm going to give you an update on 5 items and I'll make it quick. But first update is the Murray office was closed for a while due to COVID-19, but they are back open. And Allison is in the office working by appointment. So they also kind of put a pause on outreach because they like to do that face-to-face and go to senior center and those type of events and have not been able to do that. But they're still working on some of the collateral and the flyers that they hand out and will continue to, do what they can with outreach, even with the social distancing. They were able to up the amount of down payment assistance loans that they provide. And it was capped at $5,000, but they have increased that to $20,000 for those that qualify, and then $25,000 for what they are terming heroes or champions. And so if you work as a fire, police, teacher, a medical professional, military veterans, or Murray City employee, then you can get a down payment assistance up to $25,000. And right now, well, as of June, they had closed on 2 down payment assistance loans to the tune of $20,000 each. So they had helped 2 families get into homes by contributing $20,000 to their mortgage loan. They had a total of 5 other loans that were pending last month. 2 were first mortgages / down payment assistance. And fun note is that one of those was actually a family of 4 and a Murray City employee. I don't know who it was, but that's great that we would be able to use that affordable housing money to assist one of our own employees. So I find that to be really exciting. And then they had 3 more down payment assistant grants that were pending. The last thing, the 5th thing I wanted to update you on is the outcome from the Planning Commission meeting that took place last Thursday. I think council, you were all aware that the Trip Lane subdivision was on the agenda. And if you didn't know what the outcome was already, the Planning Commission forwarded or gave preliminary subdivision approval to Neighborworks with the Trip Lane Road connection going through to Willow Grove. So I know that was a controversial item, and we ended up having, I think, about 25 different citizens make public comments or submit comments during that meeting. Obviously, with a 7-0 vote, the Planning Commission felt pretty strongly that the road should connect. And it's kind of a weird process that will happen from here on out because meeting the conditions of the preliminary subdivision approval will be Neighborworks' responsibility. So I followed up with them. I don't know if it was yesterday or today, but let them know that they have really two options for their next steps. Is that they could to comply with the condition of having the road right of way go all the way through. They could approach the Livingstons themselves and see if they could work out a willing sell, willing buy situation there with the Livingstons. That was something the city wasn't able to do. And so, maybe Neighborworks can have a different approach or be able to help the Livingstons come to a place of willingness to sell the property. In lieu of that, they will probably be approaching Chair Dominguez to talk to her about getting on the city council agenda to discuss the other alternative of acquiring right away when you don't have a willing seller, which would be through the use of eminent domain. So that'll be an interesting decision for the chair and to make, and interesting item to have on the agenda if that's what the city council chooses to do. So if you have any questions about that, I'd love to answer them, but that's my update for Neighborworks.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, Jennifer, if you can give us an update on Community Action Program.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So things at Utah Community Action, obviously with the pandemic, have been a little bit busy. The agency, they are looking at implementing a call center. Right now, they're taking an average of 100 calls a day. They have 2 staff members to do that. The call center will also help mitigate some of the risk associated with staff providing misinformation relating to eligibility requirements for those to receive COVID funds. So this will be a good step for them. They have also distributed $7.3 million in utility relief over the past few weeks for people that have been affected by COVID. The Salt Lake County Health Department is going to host some virtual conversations with the Head Start families to help educate them so they know how to keep their kids safe once school starts. A lot of these families aren't sure what to do and what the procedures are, so this will be helpful for them. And once Head Start does start up again, they're going to be limiting their classrooms to 10 kids. It'll be a curbside pickup and drop off instead of parents go in and check them in and out. They'll be implementing hand washing schedules, have PPE for their staff, and have modified learning and procedures that minimize contact. And they're going to offer virtual options for families that aren't comfortable taking their kids into the center yet. They are offering summer dinners right now. Dinners are Monday through Friday. They are at 6 locations and they're free for kids under 18 or $3 for adults if they want a dinner. And a couple other things. They are hosting in the month of July a fundraiser called Food Truck Face Off. This is generally happens a one-night event during the summer. They got a park. They have a ton of food trucks. It's kind of a competition between Utah Community Action, the 4th Street Clinic, Volunteers of America, and the YWCA. And it's kind of just a friendly competition between them. People buy tickets. They buy food with tickets. Whoever has the most tickets at the end wins. This year, they're partnering with the Food Truck League. So when you go to the food trucks over at the park, you'll see certain trucks that have the Food Truck Face-Off. You can donate to them, and that helps raise money for community action. And the last thing I have is their annual Bloom Gala. They're going to do it virtually this year instead of the one-night event they normally do. It'll be from August 9th through 21st, and they're hoping to raise $200,000, and that all goes to Head Start families. And that's all I have, unless someone has any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
That amount you said again for assisting, helping those with, what was that amount again?
7.3 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that a lot, or that seems like a lot?
It is, and the sad thing is they weren't able to help all the families that need that money. So there's still families that didn't get that money, so they're trying to figure out a way to help those that didn't get it.
All right, thank you for letting us know that.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, we're going to move on to our next item on the agenda. We're running a little behind, but not too far. So we're going to go over the general plan and zone map amendments. Melinda, you want to go ahead and take that over for 388 and 398 East on 4800 South. Go ahead, Melinda.
Okay. Hopefully that's my screen that you're seeing. So this is, as Chair Dominguez mentioned, a general plan amendment and a zone map amendment for property located at 388 East, 4800 South. It's 0.07 acres, approximately 3,049 square feet. This is actually the parcel that's in back of the parcel fronting 4800 South. So it's to the rear of 388 East and 398 South. The applicant is Dondi Reichman. And here is a visual, an aerial map just showing the properties. And you'll note that you'll note that the parcel is in back of the two properties, the 388 and the 398 East. Here's a zoning map that shows that those two properties fronting 4800 South are in the RM10, and the parcel behind the two properties is in the R18 zone. Future land use shows that all of the properties are to be in medium density. Here's just an aerial view of the couple of properties, street view on the left and then an aerial view on the right. And again, the parcel we're discussing is in back of both of those homes. So there's a difference between what you can do in R18 zone and the proposed zone, the medium density, which is RM10. Both allow for single family homes on 8,000 square feet lot. Uses such as charter schools, residential daycare, apiaries. Conditional uses include attached single-family dwellings and PUDs, cemeteries, radio, television, and other uses. The proposed zone, the RM10, would allow for a two-family dwelling on a 10,000 square foot lot. It also would allow for a charter school, residential childcare, and conditional uses, multifamily dwellings up to 7 units an acre, bed and breakfast, retirement homes, cemeteries, etc. So the Planning Commission heard this item on June 4th, and they held a public hearing. We did send out a total of 54 public notices for the meeting. That was a 300-foot radius from the subject property that was noticed. There were 2 public comments that were received. Both of them were concerned about the potential of multifamily housing being constructed on these lots, but in the end, the math just does not work out on that. Even if the parcels were to be combined, all 3 of the parcels would be combined, there still would not be enough square footage to construct anything more there than 1 duplex, which is essentially the same as what exists right now, which would be 2 living units, although right now they're both single family units. So the Planning Commission in the end voted unanimously 7-0 to send City Council a recommendation of approval for this. We are also recommending the same for both the general plan amendment and the Murray City zoning map amendment. I want to go back to this again to just show, you may recall from a few months ago when we talked about the Brad Reynolds zone map amendment, and essentially what we viewed that as staff is the same as this, is that it's a correction of a mistake or an oversight that somehow when the general plan was updated last, this, I'm just going to call this child parcel behind these 2 parent parcels was not included in the same zone. So these 2 front parcels, the back parcel's always been used in conjunction with both of those single family residences. It's just never been zoned the same. The owner's intent right now is to divide that parcel into 2 parcels, so then it can then be combined with the parent parcel. So in the end, she would be able to sell the front parcel and the rear parcel as a single use. And right now she can't do that because they are zoned differently. So this really is an administrative correction to an oversight that unfortunately just happens sometimes when you're going through and you're grabbing the parcels that front a road and don't necessarily realize that there's these small remnant parcels in the back of a property that that just don't end up getting zoned the same. So again, our recommendation between the staff and the Planning Commission is to approve both the general plan amendment and the zoning map amendment. So this will be coming back to you at the next City Council meeting for a public hearing. And I will stop sharing my screen now. And if you have any questions, I am more than happy to try and answer them.
Gail, do you have any questions? Anyone else?
I do. It looks like if you go back to that map you were just on, it looks like there's one more child parcel. Do we want to do that all at once?
So I noticed that too as I was presenting this, and it would need to be something that the property owner would come in and not implement, but would come in and request. So we don't, usually the city doesn't go forward and do zone change requests on their own. It's something that we initiate when a property owner comes in. So that property was a couple of parcels over to the left. And so at some point, I would assume that parcel is also associated with a piece that fronts 4800 South. And at some point, if that property owner wanted to sell, they would need to do the same thing.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you, Melinda. We're going to go ahead and move forward to surplus of property at 15th West and 5th Avenue. GL?
Thank you. This request is directly related to the agreement we have with the Fraternal Order of Eagles, where on the east side, this organization has agreed to convey property to the city for the Hanauer Street extension. To do that, they're giving up some parking spaces. We are replacing those parking spaces with this action of, first of all, vacating that alleyway that's on the west side of the building, and then declaring it as surplus. So I believe it was the last meeting, and then tonight you'll hear again from Danny Astle, Public Works Director, regarding the request to vacate the alleyway. And following that, when that's done, what that would mean, assuming that you agree to vacate that each property owner on either side of that alleyway gets half of that alleyway. We are one of the owners on the west. We're the owner of the west side of the alleyway. So that half would become ours. In order to convey that entire alleyway, which is the intent, in order to restore their parking, we need to make sure that that gets conveyed to the Fraternal Order of Eagles, and that's what the surplus is all about. When you surplus property, it is the city council essentially saying this is property that either we don't need anymore, or someone has requested it and we don't need it, they could go ahead and use it. In this particular case, this was part of the agreement we made with the Fraternal Order of Eagles to replace their parking. And so it's simply an approval, if you choose to do that, to approve the resolution that would declare it as surplus. And following that, if that's what you do, I say following several days from now, we would then file the ordinance that vacates the alleyway, and then a quitclaim deed that gives any interest we have in that alleyway to the Fraternal Order of Eagles. That's what I have, and if you have any questions, happy to answer those.
Any questions, anyone? All right. Okay, thank you so much, GL. I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and move on to our next item, Public Safety Advisory Board. Mayor Kemp.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. If you recall, a couple of meetings ago, I had floated the idea with you of the Public Safety Advisory Board and got positive feedback. So I have sat down with GL with Chief Burnett and Chief Harris. And the result of those meetings is what's before you tonight for discussion. And that is the addition of Chapter 2.7 of the City Code. And I'm just going to put a PowerPoint up, I think. Hope you can see that. I'm not going to go through this. I'm not going to go through this proposed ordinance word for word because I think you have already done that. I hope you have. But I just want to talk about a couple of the highlights of it. And first of all, is a creation of the board to represent the concerns of diverse citizen groups and a broad interest of the community as a whole. The ordinance suggests different backgrounds from which there might be expertise, but they're only suggestions. I also should note that there's some of these that are in red, they're highlighted in red. You can really kind of ignore those. Those are just the last changes that were made in the final draft before it went to you, and they're still showing in red, but that's all that means. The police chief and the fire chief will, or their designees, will serve as advisors to the board. Now, what we're proposing is that the board be made up of 7 members. Initially, we talked about doing 1 per district and then having 2 at large. But as we talked, we realized that by doing them by district, there are a couple of areas of the city where you could actually have someone in a different district who would, but not represent a cross section of the city. In other words, districts 1, 2, and 3, and even 4. There's one point where they come together where you could have all your representatives from those 4 districts in the same area of town. So we thought it would be better just to consciously appoint members who would be across the city. So they'll all be at large, and 5 of the 7 shall be residents, and then the 2 remaining members shall either live or work in the city. The terms would be for 3 years and up to 2 consecutive terms. And their terms are to be staggered so that at least 2 terms would expire each year. No more than 3 terms would expire in 1 year. So at first implementation, we'd have to stagger some terms, but to make that work. But that provides for continuity of the board. It's expected that the board would meet regularly, shoot for monthly, but in no case less than 3 meetings per year. The meetings would be open to the public, and at least 4 members would be required for a quorum. And like our other boards and commissions, the board members will serve without compensation. So talking a little bit about the functions of the board. I'm not going through all these, but some of what I consider to be the more important ones. To foster an understanding and communication between the residents and the businesses of the city and the public safety departments. To review community needs and concerns, expectations, and responses relative to police and fire services. To advise and provide support for enhanced communication and education between the community and the public safety departments, and to encourage highest ethical standards in public safety. Also would be to promote the provision of quality public safety services to all residents with sensitivity, cultural understanding, and racial equality, and to strengthen throughout the community the application of equal protection under the law. So that's a pretty good list of functions. If you looked under training, there's quite a list of training. Within the first 6 months, they would be very busy. Open and Public Meetings Act and, all those kinds of things. And the board members will also be required to ride along at least 2 shifts with police and 1 with fire as they get to know the departments. So that's in a nutshell what the ordinance says. Like I say, I hope you've had a chance to look at it. And then I'd ask GL if you have anything you wanted to add before I ask if there's any discussion or ask for discussion about the proposed ordinance.
I don't remember. You covered it very well.
Okay, so any questions or discussion then from the council?
Anyone from the council? No? I had a question in terms of the training that would come into play, but then also, I guess it's not just the training, but asking for, would the board also look into how we collect data and information in terms of racial equity in that?
I think that's a discussion that we could have, because it's actually fairly broad the way this is worded. But at the same time, we have to be very careful with what we can and what we're able to collect. But that is certainly a discussion that I would expect that this board would have.
Okay, thank you. Dale, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. All right, anyone else have any questions? Okay, thank you, Mayor, so much. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, if not, we'll put this on the agenda for council consideration at the next council meeting, if that's okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, I look forward to that.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and move forward. Kat, if you want to go ahead and give your presentation of Diversity Inclusion Advisory Committee.
Thank you. I'm a little bit nervous about loud drilling sounds that may happen, so we'll just hope that the sound cooperates with us. So I'm really grateful that this was put on the agenda under Mayor Camp's, and I love the safety focus and all of that. This one, so diversity and inclusion, when we talked a lot about anti-bias training for police officers, which is incredibly important in how with the police department and the mayor's plan to make sure that, we are, highest standards in that area. But inclusion is so much broader than that. And so that's what I really wanted to bring to everyone's attention and to spend some time on. And that is that beyond just one department, right? It's the whole community, and it's beyond just race, it's religion, it's ethnicity, it's LGBTQ, it's disabilities. And so really expanding upon that and making sure as a community that we are really actively inclusive in the way that we offer services and the way we create community. And so with this, I started out by reaching out. Jan helped me with a bunch of research, and I had conversations also with council members and mayors of other cities who have done similar committees and how they've implemented them. And I don't have a PowerPoint because I haven't worked with GL yet. I assume that's the order of operations, that's my first time, but I'm going to have one next time, and I'm really excited about it. So I've reached out to some different communities already, just to kind of gauge their interest in what their experiences are. And I was sort of bracing myself for maybe you reach out to these different communities and they're like, we're fine, we're good, go along. But I've had this amazing feedback from different organizations, from different individuals, from different community members who say, I would like to kind of see myself reflected a little more in some community events, or I have an appointment set up to talk with someone from the Disability Rights Action Committee about, I'd love to sit down and talk about some small, easy things we could do, services or community event wise, where we would feel just more able to participate. And so there seems to be a really good community response. And what I shared with you, I apologize, it came a little later than the packet, but sort of a breakdown of what I'm thinking as far as, you know, the duties and things like that, but it's still very rough. With that, I see this advisory committee being staffed by the council office, and I see collaborating with different organizations and committees, members from different groups. One group I'm very excited about, I think Rosalba brought up I always get the name wrong, but it's the refugee educational building that's really close to us. I can always see the beautiful painting that's on the side, and I can never remember the exact name, but I taught a class there once with a group of childcare providers, and it was amazing. But I know that we have a huge amount of refugees here in Murray, and making sure that they're able to navigate our services and also feel that they are our community as well. So this is something I'm interested in pursuing and sort of clarifying language more on, and of course bringing back if there's support for it. Trying to look at my notes. Anything else I wanted to say? I think the big thing is that I want to be really mindful of what the community wants and needs. So you can't have too much of a sort of agenda ahead of time, other than gathering members and then kind of surveying, researching, studying, and listening a whole lot to identify those gaps. And so then I think after the first year, they'd be able to report on, you know, here's what we've assessed. This community is great. They don't need anything else. They're fine. Maybe they need help with a park permit for their big party once a year, but they're fine. But this community that we hadn't even really thought about, they would really like some more support or inclusion. So I think we'd know more after that first year as far as what moving forward would look like. Are there any questions, suggestions, concerns?
If I might, I don't think it hurts. I've worked on inclusion all my life. A couple of things on your worksheet, though. I think we ought to make sure that the people that are on this committee are from Murray and the Murray area. And then the second thing is, I would assume that the mayor will appoint the committee members. How do we do that? And then the third one is, I don't know, it says that you'll put a budget together and present it to the council. I don't know of any committees that we use taxpayer dollars for, so I don't know how that will work.
Thank you. Yes, I was using a bit of a template as my rough draft, so that is a very good point. Thank you.
Anyone else? Brett?
I was just going to ask. So, when you mentioned, you said something about it falls under the council. Would that fall under us, or when Dale just said about the mayor appointing?
Right. Thank you for asking for that clarification. So I hadn't initially put anything like that in there, and then it was brought to my attention that it needed to be under a certain department. And so that's where I said the council's in the council office for minutes, things like that, because I feel it's so resident specific as for needs. But if that seemed inappropriate, I feel like HR might be a good department because of the services. So I'm really open to suggestions on that.
And Kat, we can talk about that as we go forward. I think the key tonight is the general concept of diversity and inclusion.
Thanks, Jill. Yeah, we haven't talked at all yet. We've been talking about other subjects, but just kind of wanting to see that if there is support of the general idea of it, and then I'll come back to the committee of the whole with more specific language if there is.
And your presentation, I'm excited. Diane?
I just have a comment. I think it's a great idea, and any way I can help out, let me know. I know I'm kind of unclear right now as to what I can do, but I'd be happy to support it however I can. So thanks for doing that, Kat.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I really appreciate it, Kat. I know we probably have some very diverse parts of Murray under us, and it's a conversation that comes up of how we could be included more, that I hear from constituents. So I know this is something that I get questions about. So I appreciate you leading this, Kat.
Thank you. And it's been incredible. Just I asked a very small group of people if they had any interest, and I've had people calling me nonstop since saying, I want to talk to you about it. I want to talk to you about it. So I feel like there's community drive, which there has to be if it's going to work. So that's really optimistic.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll move lastly to any announcements. Jan?
No, I don't have anything.
All right. Well, you're awesome. Thank you so much for that. We're going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting for Committee of the Whole. And we're going to move, or should we take a short break now, or do you want to take a short break after the budget of approving minutes? Or I can't hear you, Diane. Sorry. Let me ask Diane.
Just follow the agenda for the timing.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start at 6:30 with the budget hearing.
Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and take a break until 6:30, and I will see you guys then. Thank you.